Hi, boys and girls. I'm sorry I didn't post a video yesterday. I completely forgot. And I almost forgot today, but I was upstairs looking through some school stuff and I realized I haven't read the best school year ever. And I wanted to get down here and make it and get it out to you all tonight. If you haven't seen the last video, it's on YouTube as well. And when last we left off, Gladys Herdman had cut the haircut into a little boy named Eugene, and it made it look like he had a doggy hair carved in his back. And Eugene admitted that he liked to hit his head on things. And everybody kind of, because of the Herdmans, had a twitch or like to hit their head or did something weird because the Herdmans were always around, and they were always very, very anxious because there was a Herdman around. And Eugene liked to knock his head on things. In fact, he said, "I can't help it. It makes me feel better." Actually, there wasn't a kid in Woodrow Wilson School who didn't wiggle or twitch or tie knots in his hair or something. Boomer Malone once ate a whole pencil without even knowing it till he got an eraser and broke off a tooth. Some kids banged their heads too when they didn't have anything else to do. And of course, the Herdman banged other kids on the head, but nobody did it as hard as Eugene. This was fascinating to Gladys Herdman. She quit hitting him and hollering at him and just followed him around everywhere, waiting for him to knock himself out. Or so we all thought. That's where we left off last time. And tonight I'm going to finish up this chapter. Before I do, I need to let you know a couple things. First of all, next week we are on spring break, so there's no NTI work for next week. But the week following we call week 4 of NTI, and I'm busy working on that right now. And you're going to have a lot more videos to watch with that. And so I'm hooking up things for your parents to help you to watch. Some of them are a lot of fun. We're going to be talking about figurative language, and we're going to be learning about the western part of the United States. So that's coming soon. I think you'll like it. So back to the Herdmans. "Why do you do that all the time?" Gladys asked him, but Eugene was scared to tell her the truth. He figured if he said, "It makes me feel better," she would pound him black and blue and claim it was a good deed. "My mother thought Eugene ought to enter the talent show. It would take his mind off his troubles," she said, "and there must be something he could do. I couldn't imagine what, except for maybe stand up on stage and be short, and I never heard of a show where part of the entertainment was somebody being short, so I was pretty surprised, along with everybody else, to learn that Eugene had a hidden talent that he would perform at the talent show." "And then on TV, probably," Gladys Herdman said. Gladys was the one who discovered this talent, but she wouldn't tell anybody what it was, and she wouldn't let Eugene tell anybody either, not even his mother. So Mrs. Preston didn't know whether to get him a costume or a guitar or elevator shoes or what. "My mother didn't know what to put on the stage for him to use. Maybe he needs a microphone," she said. "Maybe he needs some special music. I really don't know but I want Eugene to be a success." "It would be wonderful," she told us, "if Eugene could win first prize in the talent show." What she really meant was it would be wonderful if anybody besides Alice Wendelken would win first prize for a change. But I knew that wouldn't happen unless Alice broke both her arms and couldn't play the piano. I guess Charlie thought it was worth a try, though, because he asked Eugene what he needed for his talent act. "We need walnuts," Charlie reported, "but he says he'll bring his own. He doesn't want to. He's scared to be in the talent show, but he's more scared of Gladys." "What's he going to do with walnuts?" Mother asked. "I don't know. Unless maybe he's going to juggle them." Charlie brightened up. "That would be good. Even if he dropped some, that would be good." It seemed to me that if Eugene could juggle anything, we would all know about it, but maybe not. My friend Betty Lou Sampson is double-jointed and can fold herself into a pretzel, but she won't do it in front of people because she is shy. It would be the same way with Eugene, I thought. I also thought he might back out, but on the night of the talent show, there he was. So for once, we had something different to look forward to. There isn't usually anything different or surprising about the talent show. One year, a girl named Bernice Potts signed up to do an animal act, and the animal turned out to be a goldfish, which was different. But then the act turned out to be Bernice talking to the fish and the fish talking back and Bernice telling the audience what the fish said. Charlie loved this, but he was in the first grade then and believed anything anybody told him. Mrs. Wendelken said this act didn't belong in the talent show because it didn't have anything to do with human talent. Even if the fish could talk, she said, that would just mean the fish was talented, not Bernice. Mrs. Wendelken didn't think Eugene should be juggling walnuts either, according to Alice. If he can do it, Alice sniffed, which he probably can't. Eugene didn't even try. He came out on the stage carrying a big bowl of walnuts while Mother was introducing him. Our next talented performer, she said, is from the second grade. It's Eugene Preston, and Eugene is going to... Mother never got the chance to finish because Eugene began smashing walnuts on his forehead one after the other just as fast as he could, and the walnut shells flew everywhere. People sitting in the back of the auditorium couldn't figure out what he was doing, and people sitting in the front of the auditorium knew what he was doing but couldn't believe he was doing it. The principal, who was sitting in the back row, thought kids were throwing things at Eugene, so he started up the aisle and ran smack into Mrs. Preston, who was yelling for someone to stop Eugene before he killed himself with walnuts. Nobody heard her. There was too much noise. Kids were jumping up and down and clapping and hollering, "Go, Eugene! Go, Eugene!" And then they started yelling, "Go, Hammerhead! Go, Hammerhead! Go, Hammerhead!" Boomer Malone began counting walnuts. 22, 23, 24. And pretty soon everybody was chanting, 36, 37, 38. Boomer said Mrs. Preston fainted when Eugene got to 45 walnuts. But she didn't really faint. She just collapsed into a seat, moaning something about scrambled brains. Eugene used all his walnuts and then set his bowl down on stage and walked off. He looked taller to me, but that's probably because I was looking up at him for a change. Eugene didn't win first prize, but neither did Alice. Her piano solo was called Flying Fingers. And it would have been pretty flashy, except that there were so many walnut shells stuck in the piano keys that she kept having to stop and start over. Eugene was the popular favorite, but I guess the judges didn't want to reward a scramble your brains act in case that did actually happen to him, so they gave the first prize to the kindergarten rhythm band, which was probably the best thing to do. It made all the kindergarten mothers happy, and it didn't make anyone else very mad. Of course, kids were all over Eugene, telling him that he should have won, that he was the best, and wanting to feel his head. "Did you always crack nuts that way?" someone asked, and Eugene said no, that it was Gladys Herdman's idea. "Why?" Charlie asked. "What was in it for Gladys?" If you didn't know any better, you might think that Gladys felt guilty because of Eugene's dog haircut. But no one at Woodrow Wilson School would think that. So when we went to get the delicious refreshments, no one was very surprised to find they were all gone. Mrs. McCluskey was in charge of the food, and when Mother asked her what happened, she said, "I just put the last plate of cupcakes on the table when Gladys Herdman ran in here yelling that Eugene Preston had gone crazy in the auditorium and was trying to kill himself." Now, normally I wouldn't pay attention to anything a Herdman told me, but I heard a lot of noise and stamping around and people yelling, "Eugene, Eugene," so naturally I went to see. She shrugged. "I still don't know what happened to Eugene, but I know what happened to the refreshments." Everybody knew what happened to the refreshments, but as usual, you couldn't prove anything because the evidence was gone and Gladys was gone. Mrs. Wendelken didn't agree. She said the evidence was Eugene. "It's obvious that Gladys Herdman got that poor little boy to knock himself silly and cause a big commotion, and then she went to the cafeteria and walked off with every last cookie." Maybe so, but Eugene didn't knock himself silly, and you couldn't feel very sorry for him because he was a big celebrity with his name in the newspaper. It said, "Unusual performance by plucky Eugene Preston earned standing ovation at Woodrow Wilson Talent Show." The article also mentioned the Kindergarten Rhythm Band, not by name. Too many of them, the reporter said. And not by musical number, because it could have been almost anything they played. Besides, Eugene wasn't even Eugene anymore, except to his mother and teachers. And sometimes even the teachers forgot and called him Hammerhead, just like everyone else. I really like this story a lot. I think we've all met kids that were kind of on the small side, but then they ended up doing something really cool that made them seem even bigger. I will not forget tomorrow either, so that we can get on to chapter 5. And we are now almost halfway through the best school year ever. Until tomorrow, bye.